Please, I know the potential of humanity. So when you're talking about the effects of some of these things, sometimes, you know, these superpowers must learn to accommodate and to live and to accept patriotic leadership, patriotic citizens. Too often, they're happier with people who are not patriots. But you in Europe, excuse me, don't get angry, you never seem to know the role that some of your bad businessmen, you have good businessmen, and I respect them, but some of your bad businessmen are always doing bad things on our continent. And it's our people who suffer. Has been committing the most atrocious crimes. I'm not saying this because I'm in a position. I would have wished they had continued from where we left off. I would have saluted them and praised them. My country would be flying. But my country is involved in the most massive corruption, some of the brutal killings that have taken place, terrorizing, recruiting people from their parties into the police, the military, etc. And yet, BBC, CNN, Sky, American, media, the print media are all quiet because they want to portray the image of that fine Ghana as a showcase for the rest of Africa, so that they can use Ghana, who has done so well from my time into this time, and they're keeping quiet about this atrocious, the image of this government, because they do not want to undermine. They have enough problem in Afghanistan, they have enough problem in whatever it is, so they do not want to lose the situation in Africa in terms of the New World Order. The unfortunate thing is that I don't care who you, in Italy, in France, in Britain, America bring into power in my country. But I would wish you would contain them enough from declining into massive corruption and brutality and tyrannical tendencies. Because if you do not contain them, what happens is that they become so corrupt, they are now afraid of free and fair elections, and they refuse to leave power, and then we have volcanic eruptions. There was a time when we saw the white man, our colonial powers, as our enemies. But I think, no, not that I think, something that is worse than an enemy is a traitor. Yes. And when we won our freedom, some of our countries were led by some of the most noble nationalists, of our time. But at the same time, with the passage of time, some of them became treacherous and rather betrayed our aspirations. In effect, what I'm trying to say is that as bad as an enemy can be, I think something worse than an enemy is a traitor. We've ended up evolving in the process of trying to modernize. We've ended up being westernized to the point where, as I sit here before you, when I wanted to even name my children African names, heroic names, I'm a Catholic. The Catholic Church, or that character, back at home, said, no, I cannot. They'll have to be Catholic names. I mean, those Catholic names are European names. I went through an argument with this priest, and I said, listen, I have a right to my identity. Don't take away my identity. Okay? I mean, Christianize me if you may, but don't westernize me. There were times my wife and I is a great graphic artist. We made some beautiful Christmas cards that depicted Christmas in an African setting. And the Christmas cards sold so well, even with Catholic nuns, white Catholic nuns. We wanted to secure the patent. I went to an office, the Registrar General's office, to secure the patent. Can you believe that this fellow African, Registrar General, looking at my black personality, black face, told me that, no, I cannot. This was long after independence, and that it's going to take about 3 years. I said, why 3 years? He said, it'll have to go to England. It'll go to England, and it might take about 3 years before I'm granted the right to that patent or whatever it is that register. In other words, in effect, what I'm trying to say is that, oh, so I have no right to even my creativity. I create my own, you take it away from me, and you have to send it to the colonial power. 3 years later, when they have reproduced it, and I have no more right to it. So as an African, when you're talking about democracy, etc., let's put it aside. Let me bring you to the current modern situation. We end up with injustice, we end up with corruption, we end up with poverty, we end up with the worst possible things. We end up with the image. I don't have to tell you the image that you have in Africa. I don't have to tell you. Please, I know the potential of humanity. So when you're talking about the effects of some of these things,